Joining us on the program now from Barnabas Aid New Zealand, Stephanie Johnston. Stephanie, kia ora, good morning.
Kia ora.
Myanmar is such a troubled part of the world, and we'll get into some of the details of that in just a moment.
Yeah.
But firstly, in terms of the recent earthquake and the aftershocks that followed, what do we know? What's the current situation, Stephanie?
Current situation is, I think, 1,700 people have been affected, many dead, buildings just completely rubble. It's been such a tragic situation for people in Myanmar and even in Bangkok where they're feeling the effects as well.
Yeah.
We've got a building that's collapsed in Bangkok and injured multiple people. I've got a friend in Bangkok at the moment who is just terrified for her safety,
Yeah.
being there. So it's just been a really, really rough few days. And like you said before, this is a country that's not had it easy at all. There's been a military coup since 2021, this most recent civil war, just devastation all around. And then you add a natural disaster into that mix, and it's tragic, really. It's really tragic.
This is essentially a closed country, closed to foreign aid in to a large extent.
Yeah.
Although I understand that the government, in an unprecedented move, had said actually we do need international help here. The epicenter of the quake near the second largest city in Myanmar. But it'll be interesting to see how much aid is allowed to get in,
Yeah.
and how much openness the government will show, and whether or not that
Yeah.
aid will be evenly distributed to the people affected in Myanmar.
Well, just curious too as to if the aid will be blocked. I mean, that's
Yeah.
happened in the past as well. Aid's been blocked by the military and not able to get to people. So, will this be the same situation? Will we see people not receiving aid ready to go into the country, but not receiving it because of roadblocks and things like that? So, that's another area where we can definitely pray for our Myanmar friends
Yeah.
and just yeah, because there's so many things. It's great that the government has said, yeah, we'll take some help, but whether or not it gets to the right people or to people in general is
Yeah.
really the question there.
And we've seen this before with typhoons in the area, much
Mhm.
devastation, and just literal roadblocks in some cases for the aid to be able to get in. What has been
Yeah.
the international response so far? I mean, certainly the world is in shock,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
generally, I mean, people doing what they can to help. Can you summarize that situation?
Yeah, so a lot of people are stepping in, a lot of the World Food Programs. We're talking to our partners on the ground as well to
Yep.
see what we can do, specifically for the Christians in parts where they have been affected. A lot of our aid that we've done in the past, I mean, we just did an appeal a couple weeks ago for some of the help that was needed there because of people who had suffered from the bombings and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and that's another question too. Will the fighting continue or will they take a break and actually help the people who are struggling at the moment? So there has been a report that I read early this morning about bombing still going on
What?
despite the earthquake. So I don't, that hasn't been vetted. I don't know if that's how
Okay.
true or accurate that is, but I
In
don't.
some ways, I mean, yes, this is not a verified report, but it is not atypical of what we've seen from
No.
the military government over these years.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
look, Stephanie, I don't want to take anything away from the devastation of this earthquake. 1,700 people affected. Well, that's kind of pales into comparison compared to the amount of people murdered by this regime, their own people murdered by this
Mm.
regime over the last few years. Uh,
Yeah.
Serious concerns. Seriously, if the bombing is continuing, even when people are impacted by the earthquake, serious concerns on whether or not aid will get to people who have been hiding from government troops for years. And if the
Yeah,
aid
that's
turns
right.
up in a government truck, are people going to be too scared to accept that aid?
Yeah, or denied even the chance to if they're
Yeah.
Christians. The Christians are a minority and persecuted and caught in the crossfire, really, of everything that's been going on with this military coup. So, you look at the Karen and Kachin and Chin Christians
Yeah.
who are literally have had to flee for their lives multiple times, not just once. And then they go into the jungles there for safety, but then they risk starvation
Yeah.
and There's all kinds of other elements that they have to face at that point. So you're talking tens of thousands of people who have been forced to flee, or who are in displaced camps
Yeah.
or in the jungles. And, it's just been such a hard place for people to live in general, but let alone being a Christian. I mean,
Mm.
you've got double the trouble with your faith in places like Myanmar, where they're extremely Buddhist, and the government just doesn't want anybody who's not
Yeah. Yeah, certainly.
staying in their country. We
Now,
saw that with Rohingya Muslims.
any reports that have come through? Because I mean, you mentioned those people groups that are predominantly Christian who are persecuted because of their faith and because they're ethnic minorities. Uh, where do they sit geographically in terms of the epicenter of the quake? Are they in a part of Myanmar that has been most affected? Is there an overlap between where they are geographically and the devastation of the earthquake and aftershocks?
Most of the Christians we're working with are rural and in the hill country, so it's as it's called.
Yeah.
So they will have felt the effects, but not as much as what's in the main epicenter.
Okay.
So they will have felt some of it, but not the devastation that has been, reported on. Like I said, we are still talking to our partners on the ground to see what exactly how they've been affected, because a lot of times when we're dealing with these rural parts of the country, things don't get reported on. So that's kind of where we're trying to find out what's happening with these Christian minorities and the places that they are at, and how have they been affected. So we will have more to report on that
Yep.
in the next few days on our website. So you can kind of keep an eye on that if you want to know specifically how Christians are, or how they're struggling as well. But the main thing that they're concerned about and have been concerned about is really the bombing and
Yeah.
houses being destroyed and that kind of thing without the earthquake. So
Mm.
they've experienced quite a lot already.
Yeah, you'd think the military had better things to do supporting its citizens after a devastating earthquake than bombing
Yeah.
citizens in a different part of the
Well,
country. But hey,
you would think.
you
Yeah.
would think. Now, one of the things I really love about the work that you do is there'll be various reports coming out of Myanmar at the moment. Some will be government propaganda, some will have influence, some will be aid agencies who can't really tell the truth because they want to get access to people who need the help. But essentially, Barnabas Aid, you've got people on the ground who know what it's really like. You will be fact-checking the information that comes through
Yeah.
before you publish it. This is a way of people staying in touch with what is happening in Myanmar, particularly amongst the Christian communities, to be informed, to get the full picture, and to pray into that situation as well. As the information is still coming through, in the meantime, Stephanie, what can we pray for?
Well, I mean, obviously the earthquake and the devastation that's happened is a priority at the moment, but also for our Christian brothers and sisters. And the appeal that we did a couple weeks ago, one of the quotes was that from our project partners is that they would had, and he said, unwavering devotion. And
Yeah.
so whenever they took refuge, they would gather together to worship, to support each other financially, and just really, despite all of the hard, they still worship God.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest prayer that I'll be praying in the next few days is just that these Christians will feel a sense of love and a sense of unity with their brothers and sisters in New Zealand. That we pray for them to be strong in the face of adversity and all of the humanitarian crises that's going on at the moment, whether it be natural disaster or war. So I think those are the two areas of just prayer that we will be able to pray for the situation, that help will come quickly, that the government and the junta will be able to just accept the aid coming in, that
Yeah.
there will be no issues with that they will want to help their people.
And that maybe the disruption of an earthquake will cause also a disruption in the attacks, the victimization, the
Yeah,
bombing that is happening
that would be
in
great.
Myanmar as
Yeah.
well. Stephanie, again, thank you for the work that you do. If people wanted to find out more, barnabasaid.org.nz to keep up to date on the situation. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
joining us today.
Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.